Welcome to Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray, founder of Rooted Wealth Advisors. Zach and the team help families here in Illinois plan successfully for retirement. They strive to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your ideal retirement. This is Rooted in Retirement.
Welcome, I'm Amy Sharp. Joining me, Zach Gray, founder of Rooted Wealth Advisors. We know you work hard for your money, but come retirement, it's time to make your money work for you. Today, Zach shares some helpful financial strategies to help you do just that and get you to and through the retirement you want. And later, the 3 retirement questions you should be able to answer before you leave the job. Zach tells you what those are. Plus, what can you learn about retirement from your kitchen junk drawer? Zach explains in this week's Retirement Game Plan. Zach, great to be with you.
I was excited to be here.
We've got a great show ahead, lots to talk about. You know, you think about retirement and all those years that you have worked so hard for the money that you want to sustain you through retirement. We do all the work. We go and we work the 8 to 5 jobs and really save. You get to retirement, you really hope that you don't have to do as much work. And I think about Donna Summer's song, She Works Hard for the Money. You know, you remember that one? Is it possible for our money to work for us once we get to retirement?
It is, and I will say that you have to have a nest egg that is going to work for you, right? So you have to do the hard work of saving on some of those years as you get to those retirement years. That being said, though, I think that is really important to be talked about in thinking about income sources, where they're going to be, and that's different for everyone. As you start to think about how am I going to plan for this, you really want to look at it from a very comprehensive look and kind of take that 30,000-foot view to all the pieces of the puzzle, and once again, make sure that it's working hard for you.
You think about the paycheck that used to come in all the time. You counted on that for your income. Once I get to retirement, how do I know if I have enough to retire, if I have built that nest egg up to the place where it should be to help me out?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one question that we get. Like, are we going to be okay? Do we have enough? Where's the money going to come from? And I think it's a huge, really just mental shift, right? It's a paradigm shift for folks in retirement because all of those years, twice a month or once a month, that paycheck was coming in. Now there's this question of, well, where does that money come from? Do I have enough? What are those income sources? And with that, there's a lot of questions that would fall into place. You know, once again, do I have enough? But when do I take that pension? Or how do I file for Social Security? When to do that? Those are all important questions to be asking when we think about where's the income going to come from?
Yeah, and everybody is different. You can't just say, here's the plan, and it works for everyone. Everybody has a different idea what they want that retirement to look like, so then the income has to match that.
Exactly, and that's really kind of what our Rooted Retirement process is all about, because there is no cookie cutter approach to retirement. And I will tell you that as you start to look at your situation, maybe versus some colleagues or friends that you might have, when you start to think about and plot out retirement, there's a lot of things that are different. Maybe some folks do have a pension. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're married. Maybe they're single. Maybe they have certain passions or even, children to be thinking about as on into another generation in terms of planning. But all those income sources are really important to take a look at and really have a written income plan for your retirement years, because honestly, Amy, without it, it's just kind of taken off into the abyss and not really know where you're going. And that's just not a good plan.
Yeah, not at all. Having no plan is not a plan at all. I think about people who work so hard and, you have a good grip of what your income is and what you're doing with that money. Once you hand it over to a financial advisor and you want your money to start working for you, then you have to start taking into account some of the risks that are out there. And I'm sure people, A, don't always do that, and then B, they aren't aware of what those risks are. Let's talk about that for just a minute.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of risks that come to mind for me, but inflation is one of them. Sometimes I joke around and say, think back to the first car that I ever drove and what that would have cost. Amy, what was your first car?
Well, that was a '81 Toyota Corolla. It was a doozy.
Right.
It really was. I
Real
thought she was a
nice.
gem for sure.
I think about that a lot because my dad and I worked on a car growing up, and my dad did some car shows and so on and so forth.
So you
with
probably
it.
had a nice car.
Well, I did not have the nicest car. Mine was an '88 Firebird.
Oh,
Okay?
the Firebird, yes.
Wasn't bad, but I will say that '72 Chevelle, I pulled out the build sheet or the window sheet for it, And we're talking less than $10,000 to buy that car brand new off the lot. I now have actually bought that car from my father, and so I'll tote the kids around
Tuck
in
it
on
away for
Yeah.
safer, fun days to drive out and about.
But if you think about inflation, though, it proves the point, right? You can't even buy a brand new golf cart for that same 10,000 less figure. So think about inflation, and what will a dollar be worth 20 years from now? Think about healthcare. Those costs continue to go up. They continue to ramp up. How about taxes? That's been a very hot topic as of late, and thinking about what will tax be in the future, even thinking about the markets and where we're at and how that might look from a market risk standpoint. All of those are big factors and kind of threats, if you will, to income in the future.
And everything that you've said just in these last few moments really does solidify the fact that I need somebody by my side, and that's where you come in to help.
Yeah, I definitely think that proves the point, right? Unless you want to deal with all of those things on your own, I really think that getting a team put together and really taking a very holistic approach to all those pieces, income, where am I going to pull this money from, and even starting to look at things like market risk, but on past that, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, all of those pieces of the puzzle are very important to make sure you check those boxes going into retirement.
Okay, we've got more to talk about, so stick around. All right, here we go. Up next, what are the 3 biggest questions you should be able to answer before you retire? Zach lets you know. And later in this week's retirement game plan, Zach shares a retirement lesson you can learn from your kitchen junk drawer. But first, here's how you can contact Zach and the team at Rooted Wealth Advisors. Stay tuned.
You know you want to retire. You might even know when you want to retire. What you don't know is what the world will look like. A short market drop, a crash, a recession. What if I told you these words don't have to change your retirement dreams? World events can impact your retirement, but thankfully, they don't have to. Can your retirement survive the unexpected? Visit the link to find your risk score to help you prepare for retirement when you're ready. It's time for you, not outside forces, to be in control of your retirement. Find your risk score so you can be ready no matter what comes next.
Hi, it's Zach Gray from Rooted Wealth Advisors. If you're like many people, you might be wondering if you're ready for retirement. Have you saved enough? How much income will you need? When can you retire? Planning for retirement can feel overwhelming. That's why we created our Retirement Roadmap Toolkit. It's designed to give you the resources to gain confidence as you start your journey to and through retirement. Visit the link today to get your free toolkit. At Rooted Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to have a great retirement. Visit the link to receive your free kit today.
Welcome back to Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Glad you're with us today. And Zach, you say that there are 3 big questions that we need to ask ourselves. I find it hard to believe that there are only 3, but we're going to cover 3 in this segment. 3 big questions that we need to ask ourselves before we're ready to retire. And you're going to go through those now, so let's start with number 1.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's a lot of questions, and I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts to all the viewers that are watching us, but there's 3 big ones that come to mind for me. And the first one is when? Like, when are you going to retire? And what is the age, right? And a lot of folks will follow back to, well, my Social Security full retirement age is such and such. And a lot of people get really hung up on that. I'm not saying that that's not a key component, because it is, but I would just say that let's be thinking about that and not shooting from the hip. Well, it says 67 is the right year for me, so I should retire then. Or, you know what, there's a certain dollar amount, and so once I hit that dollar amount, everything is fine. Probably not the case. This is not a shoot from the hip type of moment. And I think a lot of times we don't do enough planning in terms of how much money are we going to spend in retirement, and where's that income source going to come from? Sometimes that's a huge question that we ask a lot of folks when they come on in. They want to maybe bring in their statements and they want to talk about, well, this is my pension, or hey, you know what, we've looked at Social Security and we've also looked at it for my spouse. And I say, well, Amy, how much money do you want to spend in retirement? And they kind of look at each other and, you know, they might be a little confused with that. And then I think that goes back to, when is that right time? Because for a lot of folks that maybe they only need a little bit every single month, they're very frugal folks, then maybe they could retire right now. But if you need a lot in retirement, if you need to maintain that same standard of living or spend amount, maybe that age needs to be a little bit pushed back. So the only thing I would say with that is there's not a specific age. I don't know that there's a specific dollar amount. And that's really, really important for folks to hear, that there's not this one size fits all with that answer.
All right, time to move on to the next big question that we need to ask ourselves before we're ready to retire.
Taxes. And I just would say, if you think about this in terms of, kind of taxable money, and we'll talk about this in some other segments as well, tax deferred money or tax-free money. I like to think of it in those three categories because the truth is your portfolio looks different than mine, and it might look different than all the viewers out there. There might be thousands and tens of thousands of different types of investments. They're only going to fall into those three categories. And I think that's really important for folks to be thinking about, because as they might be thinking about where their money sits, I say that taxable bucket is a bank account, for example, or an individual or joint account that I might have with my wife. We think about tax deferred money. That's maybe a traditional 401k or IRA or SEP or something of the sorts. We're waiting to take tax when we pull that money back out. And tax-free money might be something like a Roth 401k or IRA. The point of this is, it's all about how much money you actually get to keep in your purse, right? Or I get to put in my wallet. It's what's the bottom line. And that sometimes is something that I think that we miss in terms of this big question of, where does my money sit? Another key point to that rooted retirement process is just even understanding, well, where is my money? Is it all in that traditional 401k? Am I waiting to take taxes when I pull that money out? Let's start asking ourselves other questions. Do we think taxes might go up in the future? And, all of those other thoughts start to run into my mind there of, how much money do you actually get to take home and use?
So the trend seems to be the question gets a little bigger each time I ask you, in terms of broad and really kind of difficult to wrap your mind around if you're doing it alone. So what's our third one as far as what we need to think about in retirement?
Yeah, I think that the third one's yet another large one, right? And that is healthcare. It's really our number one cost that we're going to have in our retirement years. And this one really kind of hits home with me. My grandfather, probably one of my biggest role models, Gramps is what we call him. And so Gramps is an amazing guy. He's been, an amazing influence on myself and my siblings growing up. And, Gramps remarried. My grandmother passed away when my mom was really young. He remarried. Great lady, Grandma Marilyn was her name. And Grandma Marilyn, though, had Parkinson's disease back as far back as I can really remember. And right around the turn of the century, which was a big influence for me to get involved in this business, and I've been involved in this business now for almost 20 years, he started to pay out of pocket to the nursing home to have care for her. He actually retired from farming probably a little earlier than he wanted to make sure to help her out, and then she just needed a little bit more extra care. He then paid 18 years out of pocket to the nursing home, for that type of cost. And so Fidelity just came out with a study that says, the average 65-year-old couple should be somewhere maybe around $300,000, and that doesn't even include nursing home care. So $300,000 for medical cost, with excluding that big cost on top of it. I just want folks to realize that are watching us today, healthcare could be maybe that hole in the bucket that they have as they start to think about their retirement plan. So I guess those three questions for me is, when's the right time? We can help answer that. We can help build a budget. We can kind of show what is the right way to distribute the money. What's my income plan look like? Taxes, because it's all about how much you get to put in your purse, or I get to put in my wallet. And then lastly, be thinking about healthcare, because that's that really big cost that we might not love, but in retirement, well, it could be a huge cost to our bottom line.
Great advice. Thanks so much, Zach. Straight ahead, what retirement question could be hiding in your kitchen junk drawer? Zach reveals that next in our retirement game plan. And later, Zach answers some of your questions. First, here's how you can contact the team at Rooted Wealth Advisors. Stay with us.
Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement.
You have a club for every scenario, a driver for the long holes, wedges to get you over the hazards, and a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
Hi, it's Zach Gray from Rooted Wealth Advisors. If you're like many people, you might be wondering if you're ready for retirement. Have you saved enough? How much income will you need? When can you retire? Planning for retirement can feel overwhelming. That's why we created our Retirement Roadmap Toolkit. It's designed to give you the resources to gain confidence as you start your journey to and through retirement. Visit the link today to get your free toolkit. At Rooted Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to have a great retirement. Visit the link to receive your free kit today.
You're watching Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors.
We all have one, the dreaded kitchen junk drawer. But as Zach explains in this week's retirement game plan, there could be more than just junk lurking inside. Zach?
Thanks, Amy. And in this week's retirement game plan, we're going to talk about something that I know I have, and I'm sure all of you watching do as well. It's that junk drawer. I know where mine is. It's the biggest drawer that you come to as soon as you walk into the kitchen. And it's got all kinds of different things. It might have some scissors, it's got some Kleenexes, it's got hair bows for my little girls, it's got some cord that we don't even really know what it goes to. And this is a great analogy of how I see folks sometimes come on into the office. They've got their financial junk drawer, if you will, and it's got the hodgepodge of that life insurance policy that we had years ago. And you know what? I've got that old 401k that's still at that old employer. And you know what? I thought a Roth IRA was a good idea, so I went ahead and added that to the mix of things, of stuff that we have. And I will tell you that all of these things is at least a good start. But I will say that our Rooted Retirement process does an excellent job of making sure to organize all of those things that you have, because that is extremely important. We want to make sure that if you need income in retirement, that we know exactly where to go to in this drawer to get it. And what type of investments, by the way, to go to as we start to think about other things like taxes for that matter. Also thinking about it in that life insurance policy that I just mentioned just a moment ago. How's it structured? Maybe you bought that years ago when the kids were in diapers and now they're grown adults. And as we start to think about other things, like maybe it's a will, for example, that needs to be updated. Or once again, getting things organized with all those beneficiaries and making sure that we understand all of the moving parts of what we have. Getting organized is a key piece to being very clear and confident with your retirement plan. And once again, that Rooted Retirement process really helps with the organization of those things. And it's really based around four major components. Number one is income. Where are you going to get that paycheck in retirement? Because that paycheck is going to stop when you hit retirement. And we want to understand how to get organized with things like Social Security. There's hundreds of different ways of which you can go about filing. Let's make sure that we do it to the best of our ability. What about a pension? There's a lot of different options out there. What is the best way to take that income stream? Thinking about other pieces of that Rooted Retirement process is investments, because many times that income is going to come from the investments that we have. But do we take it from that 401k? Do we take it from that Roth IRA? Where do we take it from? That's very, very important. And oh, by the way, how much risk are we taking with those investments? Very, very important. Another piece of the puzzle that I think is crucial is taxes and being very tax efficient with our money. We want to make sure that our money lasts as long as we do. So maybe we can keep more of that in our own pocketbook or our own purse to go spend. Very, very important as to how to get organized. And do we take it from taxable investments? Do we take income from those tax-deferred investments like a traditional IRA? Or do we maybe pull it from something like a Roth IRA or Roth 401k? Even life insurance can be more tax-free in nature. So getting very organized there is extremely important. We kind of group a lot of these pieces together in the last piece of that process, and we call it legacy. And legacy to us is not just leaving money behind to someone, it's really making sure that we live life on our own terms, that we, make sure to be remembered the way that we want to be remembered. And I think that that starts to pull together a lot of things, like even healthcare, for example. You know, Fidelity came out with a study not too long ago that shares that we're going to spend almost $300,000 on healthcare costs in retirement. And that doesn't even include skilled nursing home care. So be thinking about that as you start to plan out your retirement years. And be thinking about the fact of saying, maybe I want to leave a legacy behind where I help my kids or grandkids while I'm still here. Obviously, estate planning is a huge part of the puzzle. There's no doubt about that. But getting very clear on those 4 pieces and getting organized, if you will, is so very important. So as you start to think about what plan you have in place, what's your retirement game plan, I think it's so important to understand many times we have all of these things just pulled together. How do we best get them organized? And our rooted retirement process can definitely help with that. Back to you, Amy.
Thanks, Zach. Still to come, we'll hear directly from you in our Q&A section. But first, here's a special offer from Zach and the team at Rooted Wealth Advisors. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Zach Gray from Rooted Wealth Advisors. If you're like many people, you might be wondering if you're ready for retirement. Have you saved enough? How much income will you need? When can you retire? Planning for retirement can feel overwhelming. That's why we created our Retirement Roadmap Toolkit. It's designed to give you the resources to gain confidence as you start your journey to and through retirement. Visit the link today to get your free toolkit. At Rooted Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to have a great retirement. Visit the link to receive your free kit today.
Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement. You know you want to retire. You might even know when you want to retire. What you don't know is what the world will look like. A short market drop, a crash, a recession. What if I told you these words don't have to change your retirement dreams? World events can impact your retirement, but thankfully, they don't have to. Can your retirement survive the unexpected? Visit the link to find your risk score to help you prepare for retirement when you're ready. It's time for you, not outside forces, to be in control of your retirement. Find your risk score so you can be ready no matter what comes next.
Welcome back to Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Now it's time to get to some of the questions you have for Zach today. You ready to get started on this?
Let's do it.
All right, here's our first one. This is from Ellen in Onarga. Is it a good idea to have my investments, taxes, and legal documents for my estate all handled by the same firm? It's a big one.
That's right. It's a bit of a loaded question there. I think that it's a great idea to have your advisor know all of those pieces of the puzzle. I am not an attorney, so I am not writing a will, and I'm not a CPA. We do have those on our team, right? So we do make sure to bring in that expertise to our planning process, and we actually share our Champaign office with an attorney friend of mine for that specific reason. We're right next door to a great CPA relationship in our Bourbonnais office. It's all of those reasons of saying, hey, let's take a look at this from that 30,000-foot view and make sure that all these pieces are working together. I think that that is extremely important to have really your financial advisor kind of being the quarterback, if you will, of all the moving parts that you have, because they are going to affect each other.
A lot of people don't always realize it's a team effort. It's not just you as the financial advisor.
Exactly. And being in the loop with those folks is extremely important. Before we do things like Roth conversions, we want to make sure that we reference back to the accountant or the CPA that's handling that tax return. We want to make sure that we're crossing the T's, dotting the I's in the right way.
Okay, here we go. Here's another one for you. This question is from Chris in Bloomington. I'm nervous about how much money I have in the stock market. What's the right amount for me to have invested in my early 60s? There's an age connection to that one.
Yeah, there is. So there's at least a rule of 100. And I don't know that that fits everyone, but the rule of 100 would be take 100, subtract your age, and that percentile would be what you would want to have in the market. Once again, not a cookie cutter approach at Rooted Wealth Advisors, because Amy, if you have enough pension dollars coming in, or maybe you have rental properties, or even just extra Social Security, if that's enough to pay all of the bills, do everything that you and your husband want to do, then hey, that's fine. Maybe you can take more risk in the market. Maybe that can make some more sense. But for a lot of folks, once they get really close to that retirement age, or they get into those retirement years, throttling back some of the risk that they have in the market can make a lot of sense to make sure that we don't have a lot of volatility pushing things up and down.
Okay, we've got another question for you, and this one is from Jeff in Champaign. I recently lost my job with a company I've been with for more than 20 years. I'm at a loss as to what I should do with my 401k. Can you help?
Yeah, we can help, and I will say that at a very high level, I think that it makes a lot of sense to roll that money out of a group plan and get it into an IRA. I think that for a lot of reasons, control is one of those. Beneficiary arrangements can be yet another, and really having the world at your fingertips in terms of investments and really what you want to put the money into. I think all of those are great reasons to be thinking about who do I want to work with, and will they be able to show me a lot of ideas that maybe I only have this short list at my workplace and I can open that up in a much better way. And yes, because of a lot of the events that we've seen here as of recent, there have been some folks that have lost their position or been downsized. And so now might be a very good time, if that resonates with someone that's watching us today, to start to understand what should I do with that money moving forward.
Okay, we've got one more for you. Here we go. From Robin in Towanda, says, I'm 62 years old and my mother passed away and left an IRA with about $600,000 in it. What do I need to know about this account? I don't want to make the wrong move and owe too much in taxes.
Yeah, so this is one that has had a lot of change in recent years. So the Secure Act came out in early 2020. It really changed the game in terms of what do we do with that money. Because in years past, maybe we put it into a beneficiary IRA and we took smaller payments over our lifespan, whatever that actuarial life expectancy was. Now that's been shortened down to a 10-year run. We have to take it out within that first decade. So things to be thinking about, we do have to take RMDs out of there. So we do at least have to be taking some money out. Secondarily, we have to take it out in that 10-year window. And that's been a huge change in terms of tax. So great conversation that was led with that question in terms of, okay, how can I break this up in a way that once again keeps the majority of that money back to the person that really needs that money or inherited that money? How do they keep more of that in their own purse or pocketbook?
All right, great answers, all things that play into your rooted retirement process, and we appreciate you sharing these thoughts with us. All right, thanks so much. If you have a question, you can call the number on your screen. We just might use one of your questions on a future show. And don't hesitate to act on the information you've heard today. It never hurts to call, even if it's for a second opinion. Don't wait, call now. For Zach and the team at Rooted Wealth Advisors, I'm Amy Sharp. Have a great day and an even better retirement.